at 6:32 p.m. Invocation and pledge, if you would just all please join and rise as I'm going to lead us in a prayer as our Mayor Pro Tem leads us in our pledges. Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, we just want to come and stop and take a couple of minutes and invite you to be a part of our proceedings tonight. Father, every deliberation, every word, every thought, every action by this council, by our staff, by members of the public, and others that are made in this room, we just pray, Father, that they will be pleasing to you, will be honoring to you, and honoring to the public in which we serve. Father, every single day, every single night, we have men and women across this community that are standing in a gap for us, and I just ask right now, Father, that you give them protection, protection in the jobs that they do, protection as they may be speeding to an incident. Father, in the midst of an incident, just protect the men and women of both our police and our fire and our EMS, and certainly even our public works folks when they get called out into the night. So just be with them as they sometimes are in danger. Just be with them. Father, for the men and women that across this globe that are away from their families during the holiday season, protect them, guide them, and be with them in the stillness of the hour. Father, as we move into the Christmas season, we thank you for your Son, Christ, who came, died on a cross for us, and Father, it all stems around this season, so we want to thank you for that and give you honor, glory, and praise. But Father, be with us as we deliberate, and may we be pleasing to you. In Christ's name I pray. Amen. Deal. All right, thank you for that. And as I mentioned, we're 10 days away from Christmas Day, so very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. This is our last council meeting of the year, so we will see you next year after this meeting in 2026. It's kind of hard to imagine that 2025 has gone by as fast as it has, and I already know 2026 is going to be a blur. It's just going to be one of those years. So. But anyway, thank you all for coming out tonight as we deliberate through this regular meeting. With that, roll call certification of quorum. Madam Secretary, I'll certify we have a quorum present as all members are present with the exception of Ms. Cade, who is out tonight. With that, citizens' comments. I believe we have one person who signed up under general comments. Mayor Pro Tem will call your name out. You'll go to the podium, give us your name. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. There is a clock that'll be up on the board, and the others that signed up specifically for an item in the agenda, and we'll call those names out when we get to that agenda item. So with that, Mayor Pro Tem, leave it to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Buck Stevens, make your way to the podium. As Mayor stated, state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. As a politician, it's going to be hard for me to stay within the 3 minutes, so I tried to jot everything down that I wanted to say tonight. Good evening, Mayor, Council, citizens, and both present and online. Like so many of you, we choose Pearland because it's a place where families thrive, neighbors look out for one another, and hard work is rewarded. Pearland is not just where we live, it's our home. Timing is everything. Timing of beginning of my career as a young man with one of my very first jobs working for the city of Pearland in wastewater and distribution. The timing of my opening my first Pearland business and then another and then another. The timing of being asked to run for elected constable for now more than 30 years starting January 1st. And many times I was called to serve on committees in organizations, and for 28 years it's been an honor to serve as a volunteer firefighter here in Pearland as well. And the timing of the re-meeting of the strongest, most loving, caring person in my life, Michelle. Thank you for being there in my life now. Those experiences shaped me who I am and reinforce what I believe. Strong communities are built through service, accountability, and trust. So tonight, timing is again here, and I'm asking Pearland to allow me to give back once again. I'm reaffirming my candidacy for mayor of Pearland in 2026 because I believe deeply in this city, in its citizens, and in what we can accomplish together. Pearland has grown tremendously over the years. That growth has brought opportunity, new businesses, and new neighbors. But it also brought challenges, traffic congestion, infrastructure demands, rising costs, and the responsibility to ensure public safety keeps pace with expansion. We are at a moment where smart, steady leadership matters more than ever. As mayor, my focus will be simple and clear: responsible growth, financial discipline, and a city government that works for the people it serves. We must protect taxpayers by managing our budget wisely and planning for the future, not reacting to it. We must invest in infrastructure, roads, drainage, and public services so growth strengthens our city rather than strains it. And we must continue to support our police officers, firefighters, and first responders who put their lives on the line every day and keep our neighborhoods safe. Economic development is important, but it also must be done right. We must welcome quality businesses and good-paying jobs that enhance our community while preserving character, safety, and quality of life that makes Pearland special. Leadership is not about politics, it's about service. It means listening to the residents, respecting different perspectives, and working collaboratively with city council, staff, and businesses. I believe the best ideas come from people who live here, and I'm committed to being a mayor who listens first and leads with integrity. Tonight, I ask for the community for your trust, your support, and your partnership. Together, we can ensure Pearland's future is as strong as its past. Thank you, and I'll be honored to serve as mayor, the next mayor of Pearland, the community of choice. Thank you.
Very well stated, Buck. Appreciate you being here. Michelle, always good. You're by his side. All right, with that, we'll move forward. As I mentioned, the other comments were turned in for specific items. Do we have any others turned in? With that, we'll move the consent agenda. Were there any items A through C to remove? I didn't get any. Mr. Koza, if you would present items A through C on the consent agenda, please.
Certainly, Mayor. Consideration possible action on consent agenda items A through C. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Koza,
Aye.
Member Carbone,
Aye.
Member Chavadilla, Member Fernandez,
Aye.
Member Patel,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram.
Aye.
The motion passes 6-0.
All right, moving forward, there are no items removed, so we're moving to public hearing number 1. Patrick, if you would read into the record the reason for the public hearing and then move right into staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a request by Travis McDonnell of Rockport Ventures LLC, applicant, on behalf of Terry Opliger, Jackal Partnership LTD owner, for approval of a zone change for 15.0372 acres of land from the Office and Professional OP District to Planned Development PD District to accommodate a proposed multifamily development. And the general location is north of Magnolia Parkway, west of Manville Road. And so the applicant's intent is to develop a maximum 315 multifamily units across 3 buildings. And the proposed amenities with that development include a clubhouse, a pool with outdoor grills, a dog park, a pocket park, and a sidewalk along the east side of the detention pond on the site. And the proposed base zoning is the MF multifamily district. So this request went to joint workshop on August 25th, 2025, and some of the general topics discussed at that time was developability of the land based on the existing zoning, challenges of developing the lot due to the curved roadway alignment, traffic and ingress and egress along Magnolia Parkway, as well as design of the buildings, kind of unit mix compared to the existing multifamily to the south, location of power lines along Magnolia Parkway, and a recommendation that the applicant reach out to adjacent HOAs regarding the proposed development. And so to date, staff has received 9 written comments in support of the request and 6 written comments against. And some of the written comments against raised concerns about privacy concerns, buffering, traffic. So those are some of the concerns mentioned by those written comments against. The surrounding uses includes single-family residences to the north and to the west, and then multifamily to the kind of south, southeast. And so as mentioned, the subject property is that office and professional district. We have some single-family residential to the west with that single-family subdivision, some plan unit development to the south-southeast, which is that multifamily development, and then to the north is the extraterritorial jurisdiction. In terms of the future land use of the site is within the mixed-use center designation, and that same place type is to the south, and then the traditional residential place type is to the north and the west. So here we get a look at the design plan, broken out between 3 buildings. So you have kind of Magnolia Parkway running through the middle of your site plan. 3 and 4 note the buildings along Magnolia Parkway, with building 2 being the interior building. And the difference in colors is that the gray represents 3-story residential building, and the kind of more purple color is a 3 or 4-story residential building. And then additionally on the site, they have the orange area is designated by the clubhouse with the pool. The detention is on the westmost side of the site. And then kind of that proposed pocket park, which will be shown in the amenities plan, is on the east side of the site. And then the site is served by surface parking throughout it, with some covered parking noted by this kind of blue purplish color right here. And then we get just another look at the kind of landscape, open space, and amenity plan. Just noting again, clubhouse kind of in the middle of the site, detention on the west side, pocket park, as well as a dog park, which is kind of noted with it's kind of light lavender color. And then also showing the red lines represent kind of the sidewalks leading out of the site into Magnolia Parkway and the pocket park. So here we get a look at the fencing plan. And so the main part to start with is along Magnolia Parkway, trying to resemble what was on the southern side. Anywhere where there is the building for the actual multifamily along Magnolia, they're proposing a wrought iron fence with brick columns. So that's this kind of black color along Magnolia Parkway. And then this more red color is the brick privacy fence to block off any parking or kind of the trash compactor and maintenance building area. And then they'll have their main entrance off of Magnolia Parkway at the curb cut here, leading into 2 gates with the exit kind of more your western driveway. And then also to note they're proposing a cedar picket fence on the north side of the property, and then as required by code, they have fencing around the detention pond. So here we get just a brief look at the signage plan. This really only includes 1 sign for the site. It has specific requirements for the ground sign, which will be located at that main entrance, with the ground sign shown here on that plan. And lastly, just to get an idea, this is kind of the tree plan, showing some of those corridor overlay district required trees along Magnolia Parkway, as well as some of the heightened requirements for trees to be provided along the detention pond, as well as to the north. And also to point out, there's specific requirements for trees within that pocket park, with specifically using harvestable trees for a portion of the required trees in that area. So here we get a look at the building conceptual designs. For this would be the kind of the buildings fronting on Magnolia Parkway. So this top image would be what you're seeing from Magnolia Parkway. And this elevation does not have any balconies on it. This bottom one is the rear, so this would actually be facing in towards more of the interior building and the pool area and clubhouse. And then the right-hand side of the image has the left view, and the right view, which would be like the sides of the building, facing east and west. And so here we get a look of just the current product across the street, and it's to be very similar to that product. And this was part of the applicant's package. And lastly, just to go very briefly over some of the deviations that were requested. And some of these deviations are also, they included some of the things that they're doing that are heightened, that they are going to be required to provide. So to break these out into the different sections, the first one is more of density required deviations. So that has to do with the maximum project coverage, wanting to request that to be increased, as well as the dwelling units per an acre. And also the height of the buildings to go higher than the allowable 35 and go to 50 feet for the 3-story and up to 4 stories and 65 feet for the 3 to 4 story. And then also on this image or this page is also a buffering requirement, which is something that the applicant is proposing to heighten the buffering. And so to the west, they're required to have a buffer adjacent to a single family to the west. And they are proposing to, instead of just doing a 25 or 30 foot, they're proposing to have the buildings 275 feet away from that property line. And then along the northern property line, they're also proposing to do a 60 foot setback to those ETJ properties. And this next deviation, the left-hand side is all these have to do with kind of the landscape open space, and this is typical of more of an urban style product where they are requesting the deviation but proposing to provide heightened amenities than what the code normally would require. So that's where the pool courtyard, dog park, pocket park, and landscape preserves are being proposed. And then the right-hand side is these are more deviations to get this specific style that they're going for articulation and transparency. Typically, the corridor overlay district has specific requirements for the facade facing Magnolia. And these are more just to make sure the product that they do doesn't run into any issues down the line, but it'll resemble the product to the south already. And then this last page is just a mixture of different deviations. They have the parking deviation, which is something that we typically see with these urban style products. And then on the right-hand side, this is also a deviation to the fencing. And this is something that was requested on the product to the south as well, to reduce the setback for fencing from 30 feet to 20 feet. And this is essentially to allow for a building to be at 25, the multifamily, and then to not have this issue where I have a building at 25, but I can't have my fencing because I have to have it at 30. So we need to make sure that the product is fully enclosed within the fencing. As the proposed PD, as presented, fully meets the approval criteria laid out in the UDC for a planned development, and the proposed PD is consistent with that future land use plan of the mixed-use center place type and strives to create a superior development that includes amenities and design stipulations that attempt to mitigate any major impacts to the adjacent properties around it. And so therefore, staff recommends approval of the zone change to a planned development. And then at the previous Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on December 1st, the P&Z voted 7-0 to recommend approval of the proposed zone change as presented. I'll pass it back to you, Mayor.
All right, sounds good. I see the applicant present. Do you have a presentation tonight as well, or just here to answer questions? Okay. And again, just give us your name for the record as you go into your presentation.
Yes, sir. Patrick, I can just pull this out, right? Oh, wrong one. Gosh, sorry. Full screen. While we're waiting for this to come up, for the record, Travis Donnell. My home address is 1909 Barton Parkway, Austin, Texas. For those of you in the room that are new to this conversation and this dialogue we've been having for 4 months on this property, just want to do a quick self-introduction. I'm a Houston native, attended school at the University of Texas, got a civil engineering degree. My partner, Sean Rattery, is also a Houston native, Texas A&M alum, and studied construction science. The two of us teamed up and we've been partners for years. Combined, we have over 30 years of experience in real estate, investing, development, and construction. But we're a small company. We're not a big company. We only work on 1 to 2 projects at a time, and we put all of our passion into every project we pursue. And we were fortunate enough to work on a project in your city that we wrapped up last year called the Delta Pearland. And we talked about this back in August at the workshop. We sort of gave a report card on the success and the outcome of that project. And it's just been wildly successful. And my measure of success is the demand for the housing type that we delivered is just off the charts. we perceive the product that we built to be a luxury Class A apartment, yet it is attainably priced and an affordable cost to a young professional living and working in this city who cannot afford to purchase a single family home. And we talked last time a lot about the 2040 comp plan. And in that plan, several conclusions are reached. One is the need for workforce housing for young professionals. And so I just urge you to consider tonight the case study across the street that has demonstrated that conclusion in the comp plan was accurate. So with that, we'll turn the attention to the north side of the street. We're calling this Magnolia North PD. And so I'm not going to spend a ton of time tonight crossing back over and having a redundant presentation to our initial meeting. Instead, what I'd like to focus on are the actions we've taken and the work we've done since we last stood before you. And so there's really three things to hit on. The first is we've advanced the design of the project. We've completed some 2D renderings and a 3D video. And so hopefully tonight, everyone in the room will have a better sense for the size, the scale, and the design intent and how the project will fit into the neighborhood. Second is traffic. Not every developer does this, but we went ahead and preemptively completed a traffic impact analysis. Tony Voigt is here in the room with Voigt Associates, who's a longstanding Pearland resident. And if anyone wants to ask any questions that are a little more specific than I may get into, Tony's here to address them. But the conclusion broadly in the report is that this site uniquely does not pose the same traffic concerns that other proposed developments do. And third is the community feedback. We're given some good advice by you to reach out to the community and solicit feedback. So I want to talk a little bit about what we've done and how we've responded and all the actions we've taken through our design process to mitigate against any potential negative impact wherever possible. Here's just a quick history. These key dates, this is sort of the sequence of this process. August 25th, we were here for the joint workshop. September 4th, the very next week, we gave a presentation to the Southwick Board of Directors, HOA. We basically gave an hour-long presentation and answered questions and took feedback. Then the next week, we had a coffee chat with one of the board members and gave them a tour of the Delta so that they could see the quality of the project that we build. And then the next week, we met with a smaller subset of the Southwick Section 1 board and gave another presentation to them and got their feedback. And then we, 2 weeks ago, got to P&Z, got their support and a 7-0 recommendation to proceed, and here we are. In addition to that, on public comments, we have the planning staff has been very transparent with us and sharing the comments, and we have responded on a rolling basis in real time. And as recently as this morning, we have proposed a change to the PD that we presented to P&Z just 2 weeks ago. So I'll get to that in a minute. But this list here, and I'm about to get into the images, and this will all start to make sense, but I just want to rattle off the list of the things that we've done to incorporate into the design. One, we've condensed all the buildings into 3 dense structures. We had received a comment at the workshop that you guys wanted to see a more dense urban project, and so we've done that. 2, we have incorporated a circle roundabout at the entryway to accommodate Pearland ISD's school bus operations. We've reached out to them to seek their input in the design process. And so our our project can fully accommodate, and we will not be the reason a school bus cannot pull off the street and safely pick up and drop off students. We have addressed that concern. 3, I've already covered this, but we completed a TIA. And then 4th, there's a whole slide on this, but we have incorporated into the PD what is called in our industry is a dark sky photometric plan. And some cities have adopted ordinances to prevent light pollution from spilling out from one property to the neighbors. And so we have gone ahead and put text into our PD to have us follow that guideline. 5th, and I have a slide for this too, but we incorporated a setback of 275 feet versus the current setback of 30 feet, and then to the north, 60 feet versus its current 30 feet. So we're trying to create a buffer, and we've succeeded in that. And then these last 2 bullet points, this is what I mentioned earlier. So originally, Patrick mentioned building 2. Our ask had been to go to 4 stories and 65 feet. We are here right now telling you we received a comment from the community to the north, the ETJ community, with some opposition. And as a gesture of good faith, we are volunteering to reduce the building height from 4 to 3 and from 65 feet to 50 feet. And we'll take it a step further. The second thing we're willing to do as well is get rid of the balconies on that 3rd floor of building 2 facing north and facing west to reduce privacy concerns. And lastly, we're making a commitment to put a flock camera at the main entry to help with safety and crime concerns. So now that I've gotten all that out of the way, I'm going to show you some images, and we'll do Q&A, and all of this will become more apparent in the images. Quickly on the location map, I want to just use this image to illustrate the simple fact that along Magnolia Parkway, west to 288 is about 3 miles. There is 0 commercial development. On Broadway, a mile north, different story. It's almost 100% commercial development. And so logically, this is sort of intuitive, but the image to the right, these are TxDOT traffic counts on Broadway versus Magnolia. There's roughly 30,000 vehicles per day on Broadway and only about 10,000 vehicles per day on Broadway. Broadway has 3x the amount of traffic as Magnolia, and both have 2 lanes dedicated in each direction and roughly have the same capacity to add traffic. So we just think that's a really important distinction to make, that in a city that does experience traffic concerns, this is a location and a street that does not. Here's an aerial image of the site. As you can see, to the west is Southwick Section 1. To the north is the ETJ community. And to the south is the Delta Pearland project we built. This is an aerial taken shortly after completion of construction. You can see we built a 1.4 acre park that's being dedicated to the city of Pearland as an extension of the trail there. And the concept is to do something relatively similar on the north side, but on the east side. And so I think another reason for our company, our firm, to be the right developer for this site is we get to mirror a lot of the architecture we did on the south side, on the north side. And when this is all complete, I think this corridor is gonna really have a sense of place and a consistent aesthetic, which is aligned with the Keep Pearland Beautiful motto. And so a lot of that architectural consideration, we think, and beautification of Magnolia Parkway should be an important consideration here. Here's a massing. This is a 2D sort of rendering of the project overlaid on the site. This is what it would have looked like at 4 stories. Shuffling back and forth. So with that, I'm going to show you a quick video real quick.
Martin,
So-
we might want to put that into our development standards for any presentation in the future. So,
Duly noted.
So here, going back to the aerial image, I just have some notations here to call out. So the setback I mentioned on the west, if you look where I've got number 2 marked, that distance is actually 350 feet. So the setback to the Southwick HOA is literally the size of a football field. Building 3, there's only a couple units on that end, but the setback there is 275 feet. And then to the north side of 2 is 60 feet. Also pointed out here, you can see the roundabout. There's over 100 feet of clear distance for a loading zone. A school bus, even though we only expect 10% or less school-age children in this apartment, just like to the south, there will be a safe zone for the school bus, and we're going to put benches there. The only thing to point out as it relates to the TIA is there is the need to do a median cut and to provide for a safe left turn in for eastbound traffic. And so it's 350 feet. It's a 150-foot bay for cars to stack, and then a taper of an additional 150 feet for 300 feet total. So I kind of sketched that into the median there. But that is the only off-site work anticipated. And just to be clear, these access points align with the existing median cuts that are there today. Here's another perspective on the setback. The blue line, at our P&Z meeting, it was discussed that at some point the city had determined in response to some bad situation with a development project that 3 feet out for every 1 foot up was the appropriate standard. And so I've drawn that slope from the fence line to the west, showing that according to that methodology, the height of football field back could be 91 feet. The red line is sort of the line of sight. But because this morning, and like I discussed, we're willing to get rid of balconies on the upper floors and get rid of the 4th floor, this is what it now looks like. The line of sight and the privacy has been dramatically improved by this concession we're willing to make. And just to finish clearing up that concession, so these are the facades we're talking about having no balconies on the 3rd floor of building 2. Here's a perspective just looking east towards Manville Road. This is not an up-to-date aerial background, but our project would be off to the right. This again is what it would look like at 4 stories. There's 3. Here's a photo of the photometric dark sky plan. So we had an MEP engineer complete this analysis for us. And essentially, the way you accomplish this is you use specific light fixtures that do not emit light above the horizontal plane. And so that's what you see in these images to the right. So all the lighting fixtures in our property are required to be of this standard. Here's another perspective. This was taken sort of like as if you were walking out of the single family neighborhood along Magnolia at the property line. This just gives you a little depth perspective as to how property at 3 stories fits into the neighborhood. Here's a broadside view of the property along Magnolia. Here's a rendering of the arrival. And you can see in the middle of the screen here, this bench. This is where the school bus would pull in. Here's another broadside rendering photo. Here's an internal photo. This is pretty cool. One thing we found that's really successful is we have pet yards in almost every ground floor unit that's not facing Magnolia. It's very popular. Here's just an aerial, very conceptual of the amenity courtyard. It's a pretty large space. That takes me to traffic. So these, if you want to read through this slide quickly, These are the various topics that we focused on in the TIA. If there's any questions, we can come back here, but we studied basically every major consideration. I know there was a question about traffic control devices being necessary or not. They're not, according to the analysis. Site distances, all safe, AASHTO compliant. Driveway design, compliant. Access spacing between access points along Magnolia, also determined safe. And the level of service can accommodate this development and the additional trips it's expected to generate. And this gets me to sort of some of the, as you saw in Patrick's slide, we had nine people reach out and supported the project and 6 against. These are some of the reasons why we think we have earned support. I'm going to skip to the next slide. So this, I want to compare this to the by right zoning for a minute. This is I'm calling option A our proposal. Option B is medical office. Option C is an office park. And these are realistic alternative uses for the site, and they're by right allowed. And we all have our own opinion of what we want to see on a piece of land next to us, but I truly mean it when I say I think our project is by far the highest quality project that is going to go here. And if you see this screen here, this is an office park. There's no perimeter fencing or security. It's essentially a giant parking lot with small little office buildings. In our opinion, some of these projects are built cheap and do not age well. And the medical office case, someone could just build one big dense office building instead of scattered. And right now you could go 35 feet tall up to 30 feet against the property line. And so I think, the HOA not ending up with one of these uses has really gained a little support. Another thing too, we did a traffic trip generation comparison where we said, all right, how much traffic is this multifamily project going to generate versus those alternative uses? And contrary to common belief, apartments generate less rush hour traffic and less trips per day than a shopping center and an office building park. So when compared to what could go there, again, this is going to have a lower impact on traffic. So that pretty much concludes my presentation. I would just like to leave you with one thought, which is it's not lost on us that this city receives a ton of interest from developers looking to build multifamily. We see it, we witness it, we track the activity in the city. But we know from our experience across the street that there is a very high demand for your residents for this product type. We have students at Rice University. We have a staff member from the city living there. We have first responders. We have staff from the ISD, people living and working here in your community. And it's been wildly successful. And we would love the opportunity to do more of it. And when you consider all of what I just went through, we truly think, if you stick to the 2040 comp plan and you acknowledge that its conclusion is that some amount of multifamily is ideal going into the future, it just becomes a matter of where are the logical places to allocate it. And for the reasons I discussed tonight, I truly think this is a great choice. And I think it makes a lot of sense. So thank you.
Thank you, Travis. I'm sure we'll have some questions for you guys here in just a minute. Before we turn it in our public hearing to those wishing to speak for and against, we do have several that signed up to speak. We're going to call on those first because we have those names. Again, you can go to the podium, give us your name, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Terry Oplinger. Oh, I tried. You want to make your way to the podium, state your name. You do not have to state your address anymore, so just state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes. And Bill Baldy will be immediately following him.
Yeah, I'm Terry Opliger, and I'm the owner of the property, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me, and I will keep this brief. The first thing I'd like to say is please approve this change. I purchased this property in 2010 in partnership with the developer. Our expectation is the area would become a busy commercial zone and attract appealing businesses, but the market simply has not been there. We rezoned the property from townhomes to general office. At one point, a CUP was approved for a hospital, but no viable development plan has come to fruition. The applicant, Rockport Ventures, has put forth a proposal that represents by far the highest quality, most logical development proposal we have ever received. It just makes sense to urge you to consider how successful their project across the street has been. Second, I'd like to ask this question. If the city says no tonight and declines the rezone application, what should I do with the land? The only alternative I have is to sell this property to a small business park developer, several of whom have approached me in the past with multi-use tenant concepts. Their plans did not include building a high-quality project. This will not magnify the beauty of Magnolia Parkway. And my guess is that will not attract high-quality businesses. I do not want to do that. I take pride in every project I've ever had any involvement in. I want to be a contributor to the city of Pearland, and I hope that you will ultimately agree with me that approving this proposal is in the best interest of the city, the adjacent communities, and all the existing businesses in the area. Rockport has a proven concept that is both attractive and successful. Thank you. And please approve this proposal. It just makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bill, you'll make your way to the podium. Again, state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes. And Marion Bullard will be right behind him.
Bill Baldy. I'm president of the Wesley Civic Club. I'm here representing the members of the Wesley Civic Club. They're concerned about the condition that's going to be over there, the crime that could possibly come with the opening of the apartments over there. As you know, as apartments get older, they change management numerous times. In my career in the fire department in Houston, we used to do surveys on apartments. About every 3 to 5 years, you got a new apartment owner, and you had managers seem like weekly. They don't keep them up. They just run them till they run in the ground. This looks like a really nice apartment project to begin with, but in a few years, it's going to be dilapidated. We're against this. We don't want to see it. We're worried about the crime. We're also worried about the water flow that's going to come out of there. Even though it does have a retention pond, you're still going to get a lot of water flow out of there. When Harvey came through, I call them the lakes of Pearland across Magnolia over there, but they overflowed. Mary's Creek can only hold so much water, and then it starts backing up into our subdivision. Y'all dug the ditches out, it helped, but we know it's coming. And we would appreciate it if you would deny this proposal, and I thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Marilyn? And Jennifer Evans will be next.
Wow, I can't see you.
You can pull it down.
Can I pull this, or is
You can move all of it if you want to.
that okay?
Just state your name for the record, and you got 3
I'm
minutes.
Marilyn Bullard. I have been a resident since 1954. So that tells you I've been here a long time, and Pearland did not look like what it looks like now. I have property across the street on Magnolia and 1128, and I'm going to tell you something. I am so fired up about this apartment group having phase 2. Because phase 1, they did everything they said they were going to do. I toured it. I was blown away. I said, this is Pearland, Texas? This is like Midtown in Houston. It's so classy. It's so beautiful. And they've done it so well. So phase 2 would be phenomenal. Plus, we've got to have development in Pearland. I mean, we have got to have it. And by adding phase 2 and then adding the retail shops and whatever, this is my vision of that area, because this is my home. This is where I grew up. So I would love to see those apartments with people in them, with kids in them. And then you've got CVS, you've got the gas station and 7-Eleven. And then can you picture a whole community of Starbucks, donut shops, ice cream restaurants, where everybody could join there? I would love to see a community in that one area. We have 3 schools that are on that same street. And then adding more community people, I can just vision that area just exploding with community, neighbors, loving neighbors, and crime. I don't see crime. Our police department is phenomenal. So I just say thumbs up, yes, to phase 2. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Jennifer Evans. State your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Evans, and I kind of hate to follow Marilyn. I was previously the managing partner of partnerships that own the 40 acres at this Magnolia 1128 intersection. And I'm here this evening to encourage support for the proposed second phase of the apartment developments for 2 reasons. Number 1, momentum, and number 2, cohesiveness. In the early 2000s, my partner and I began developing in Pearland, acquiring property as Shadow Creek was just getting started. As Shadow Creek developed, there was a clear shift in momentum where growth and investment was happening in Pearland. Our properties at the time along Cullen Parkway, Fight Road, and Magnolia lost attention as Shadow Creek development was taking off. Despite bringing national credit like CVS and 7-Eleven to this Magnolia intersection, a location that, by the way, the late former Mayor Reed called the belt buckle of Pearland, the real development momentum didn't begin until this developer group came in, began working with council and city staff and my respective partnerships in 2023. During our waiting period that began in 2009, my partner and I made a conscious decision not to overdevelop or fragment the land at this intersection without a broader vision. This address, as we all know, is the back door of Silver Lake, and it has always deserved thoughtful planning. In 2023, the broader vision was developed with this group, and that broader vision has now proven itself. Since the apartments completed in March, I have sold the remaining 2 pad sites along the south side of Magnolia to complementary uses. The apartments have been the right anchor, and cohesive development is following. Tonight, I hope you will support this proven developer and their expanding vision for this intersection by allowing development momentum to continue in a cohesive way. As Marilyn stated, there is more property at this intersection, and we need this continued momentum. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. George De La Garza.
Good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Jorge de la Garza. I come here twofold, and where I live in the Wesley neighborhood. I know for me, this is the first time today hearing this about just from a couple hours ago. And I remember, when the last time came up for the other complex, same thing, it was kind of last minute for us. Whoever's, not worry about that. But my main concern is from the drainage and part. I remember being here and seeing, flood waters literally coming across 1128 into our neighborhoods when it was during one of the storms, even after Harvey, where you could just literally see all the water coming across. I know some of that's been addressed, but that's still a concern for me as an individual. I'm coming here as an individual, and my house got flooded in Harvey as well, and also growing up in Wesley now and having my kids there, we are concerned about traffic and speeding and just a lot of the differences that we've already had 350 plus units get started. Have we looked at seeing how is the current impact on that right now? Is it too quick for us to go ahead and do another 315 units? That's almost a little bit less than double than what it is. So has that even been looked at or observed yet to see what is the current impact on it? Also, I also have friends and family that live in the houses behind the complex where, to my disappointment, I didn't see anything about the views or what's being done that much to the houses behind that are closest to the facility. I see everything about how they're taking care of the HOA in the nice neighborhood across the street, where they're past the retention. But what about the houses that are literally already being impacted by the first unit and they're just putting up a cedar fence in between the houses that are even closer to them? So I would like to, that is a major concern for me, especially just knowing about this and knowing that, church members, family members are literally right behind this. And I've seen so much talk about the other neighborhood and what's being done between them. But what about that 3-foot analysis, point of view thing towards the houses right behind them? So I hope, and for me as an individual, I am in opposition of this.
Thank you, sir. Anida Juarez. Would state your name for the record, and you've got 3 minutes to speak. Thank you for being here.
I'm Anida Juarez. I live in 5118 Blue Sage Drive. We live right behind the apartments. We're against it. We don't want it to be built because, first of all, we do live in those. We live right in front of those apartments. They do party a lot. I know they say that they don't, and they've been smoking illegal stuff and doing we see it. And we can't even be outside or anything because they're just people in their balconies looking at us. We don't have the breeze that we had before. Obviously, what it looks like, the dog park is gonna be right behind our house. Nothing against dogs or anything, but we love our privacy. That's why we don't live in the city. That's why we're not over there with Midtown or anything like that. Please, please consider that. I know you guys, y'all are doing business, everything's business, but that's why we're living everything. We left the city for a reason, to be no traffic, to not see traffic, to not see crime. We do see, the other day I was leaving 7-Eleven and a guy almost ran me over with a car and they went into the apartments. Please, please think about all of us. We do have a lot of kids that are just running around and we don't want none of that in with our neighborhood. Think about all of us, all of our neighborhoods and people living there a long time ago and how, and obviously the traffic will be worse for the schools, the walking homes. And I guess if you guys want to build apartments or whatever, make sure that we're not, please don't do it. Don't do it for all of us that we don't want it. And if you guys want to build, y'all can build somewhere else. We don't, just, that's all I gotta say. Think about all of us. Think about the people that we try to have a better life. And that's why we decided to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And Kathy Ildesky. Again, state your name for the record in 3 minutes. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Kathy Tydelsky, and I live in Southwick Section 1, the HOA that's going to be next to this project. I moved to Pearland 14 years ago, and since I've lived here, I can't believe all the development, and that's because Pearland's such a great place to be. Something is going to go in on this property. There's no doubt about it. So our HOA actually is governed by two HOAs. We have the master, and then we have our own HOA. Back in September, I attended the master HOA meeting, and that was the first time I heard Travis talk about this project. I also attended the Section 1 meeting a couple weeks or a week later after that. So I had 2 meetings, saw Travis and saw the presentation. All the board members had questions and concerns as to how this development would affect our homeowners. Would it cause the homes to flood? Would residents be able to look into the backyards of our homeowners? Would lights shine in our windows all night long? And how would traffic be impacted? Travis listened to all of our concerns. He answered every question, and he calmed our fears. On December 1st, 2 weeks ago, I went to the Planning and Zoning Commission and listened again. And then I knew that the project, Travis would be here tonight. So I purposely went back to both HOA meetings and talked with the board members and asked them, do you have concerns? Do you have objections? Do you have any more questions? Here's what I heard back. This is a great project. This is a wonderful presentation. We liked that our concerns were listened to. We liked that what we thought was taken into consideration. We have no objections. This is a quality project that we need here in Pearland. It's put together and promoted by this company that really cares about the HOA, cares about individual homeowners. They care about Pearland. They've joined the Pearland Chamber of Commerce because they want to stay here. They want to be a part of Pearland. I ask you, please approve this project. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Mayor, that's all that signed up to speak.
All right, then we'll put it open to the rest of the public. Those wishing to speak for or against this proposed request can go to the podium. Give us your name. You have 3 minutes to speak. Second attempt, those wishing to speak for or against this proposed request. I see one move in that direction.
Hello, my name is Carol Compton. I live in Wesley Subdivision. I specifically live on Meadow Lane. I back up to the retention pond, basically kind of in the center of the retention pond, and I hear and see what goes on all night long. And it's not nice. There is a lot of mischief going on, not only immediately around the retention pond. I used to call the police on it. I gave up because they don't seem to have access to getting back there where criminals hide. I recently had stuff stolen off my back patio, which kind of left me surprised. There are cars that race up and down Magnolia all night long, and they have extremely loud exhaust. I find it amazing that there's not some sort of noise ordinance that prevents all of this. When you put these apartments in, it's going to be even worse. The crime, just like one of my neighbors commented on earlier, typically goes up as apartments sit there longer. I would hate to see that. I moved to Wesley Subdivision in 1978, and I have watched huge changes. And it hasn't been all bad, but it hasn't been all good. And if you start throwing in apartment complexes that typically have a lot of crime, ultimately, I see on Ring all the time that there are gunshots being fired at the apartment complex off of Cullen, just south of Clear Creek. I see it for some of the other apartment complexes. I don't want to have that where I live. That will ruin my property value and ruin the property value of my neighbors, and it will basically force me out because I won't be able to handle that. It's just too much crime, and it's too unsafe under those kind of circumstances. please put these apartment complexes along freeways where they're less damaging to those of us that have a huge investment in our properties. Thank you, and please, please vote against this. Please don't allow this to come in. I don't care what all these other people are saying. They have great sounding comments, but they're not really living there or seeing this, obviously, because the only reason why they want to promote this is they're going to be making money off of this. I'm not looking at making money. I'm looking at living my life there. Please do not allow this. Thank you.
Third and final time, those wishing to speak for or against this proposed request. Sir, you've already had your comments. Oh, we have someone else. Yes. That'd be fine. Make sure you give her name for the record.
And her name is Irma Torres. She's saying that she does not want those apartments there because she is literally right behind there. That she lives, currently, even with the current existing property, that there is already noise and partying after hours, that alone has brought worry to their family as well and not able to sleep sometimes. And now they're going to have them even closer than what it was before. And they have a lot of family that's with them or that comes visit. And with all everything that they currently see with whether drugs or paraphernalia or whatever it is, and that she's worried about that crossing over. And she's saying, please do us that favor. The ones that want it is because they're not living there right behind it, and she is living there. She does not want to be done. And her husband did mention that the street that's right behind them, there's not enough lighting either, so that alone also can attract more, is what he was saying, more crime to that or avenues. So he would like that minimum look into. But at the moment, that they're in decline of it. And she just reiterates that she does not want that there for her and her family. Because she's living it, they're not. That, they're asking for it to be made, but they're not living there experiencing it. And that's, as living there, that's what she's requesting. She is scared of the impact it can have. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Last opportunity to say anything. Don't see anybody moving in that direction. We'll close the for and against portion of it. We'll turn it to City Council for questions, comments, concerns. We'll open it up at the dais. Yeah, Ms. Chavrier.
Thank you, Mayor. So I have a question for the HOA. Do you have a minute? Can you go to the podium, please? I didn't get her name. So you mentioned in your comment that you went to the HOA board, but did you reach out to the entire community?
No, I did not. I just went to the board meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? No, sir. This is for us to ask our questions here, so I appreciate that opportunity, though. Mr. Fernandez.
Thank you, Mayor. Travis, can you go up to the podium, please? Thank you. First of all, great presentation. I appreciate all the work that you've done since the workshop. A couple comments. Thank you for the TIA that was produced. Thank you for the roundabout for the students. That was a concern of mine, so obviously I appreciate y'all taking that in consideration. I do have a question on the Pocket Park. If you pull up, any of your drawings that show the fence line obviously encompasses the property, but it does not encompass the pocket park. But I'm assuming y'all will continue to maintain and maintenance that park.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, so that will be y'all's responsibility, even though the fence line is not around it.
Correct.
Okay. Just confirming the fence line on the north side of the property indicates it's a 6-foot cedar picket fence.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We could respond to some of the feedback tonight. We could increase that to 8 feet if that's where you're headed.
Yeah, I was trying to think if we could, go a little taller, just, for the sake that those homes are a lot closer. So that was of concern of mine. My last question, thank you, Travis. My last question, I believe, would go to Captain Thomas. Do we have a calls for service, idea of calls for service for the Delta across the street?
Yes, sir. In the last 6 months, we've only had 7 calls for service there.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Captain, can you give a kind of a brief description of what those 7 calls were around? Were they noise, or were they domestic, or what?
Looks like one domestic disturbance, 1 accident, 1 civil matter, 1 discharge of firearms, and a criminal mischief.
Mr. Baum?
Travis, quick question. Again, I'll echo what Member Fernandez said. We don't typically get a TIA at this point. A lot of people want to know, but at this stage in the game, we don't typically have that. So I appreciate you guys doing that in advance. One of the comments from the general public this evening was, do we know the impact of the Delta in the area? So did your TIA account for the Delta, or was it done prior to having any data off of the Delta?
Could we go back to, Tony, you want to come up and answer that? Could we go back to our slideshow so I can pull that up?
To your point, and I'm Tony Voigt, Voigt Associates. We did, as part of this scope, talk to staff, and one of the things that they were curious about quantifying was the amount of traffic generated by the phase 1 complex. So we did count the site driveway on Magnolia as part of that. So the background, it was included in the background traffic for the phase 2 study.
Okay, so y'all did account for what's already there.
Yes, sir.
The Delta being involved.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And real quick, at what capacity was the Delta when you, and this may be a Travis question, but what was the capacity of occupancy when you did that study?
I think I asked you that, and it was over 90%.
Well, what date was the data from? I believe it was August.
It was right after school started back up in August.
Yeah, so it was over 90% occupied.
Just ask that question. Was it barely started, or was it almost at capacity? So, all right. Questions? Was that it? Questions, comments? Oh, Mr. Fernandez.
Thank you, Mary. Just to follow up, staff, how would we change or adjust that north fence from 6 foot to 8 foot?
Thank you for that question. So we can handle that through an amendment to the ordinance. Again, this is the first reading of it, so we'll bring back an amended second reading that takes care of any amendments proposed or the amendments that were discussed by Mr. Travis here.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Carbone?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a difficult parcel. Multifamily is always tough. Y'all did everything we asked. Quite honestly, I didn't think you were going to get the HOA to the HOA's support. So happy to see that. When I look at this, you've got 2 acres, 1 acre, 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 1 acre we've got this product that has the increased amenities versus what could be built by right there tomorrow, versus once we cross over the 150,000 population, what can be built there by right. And so am I overly excited to have more multifamily? No. I think the first phase went well, and I think given all the facts and circumstances, I think this is a good compromise, and I think it'll be a good product. So thank you for working with all the neighbors.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, Mr. Patel.
Thank you. Travis, I will say it's a good presentation. And I was kind of blown away with your presentation, and thank you for listening. But I do want to ask you, you certainly talked to all the people on the west side of your development. What was the reason not to talk to this group on the north side?
I wouldn't say there was no reason to do it. It's just there's no, to my knowledge, HOA that exists that creates an easy opportunity for someone like me to approach their community. And if there was, I apologize. But we received the email that someone from their community sent to planning staff, and that is why I voluntarily, before even hearing what they had to say or if anyone would show up tonight, to reduce the building height from 4 to 3 and to eliminate balconies on the 3rd floor. So I don't have a great reason other than not knowing how to go about doing it.
I guess then the question would be, you did a visual of what the site would be from, I guess, west side. Would you be able to do one from the north so they can see what would be for the 3rd floor, right? Because it's going to be a lot shorter and a lot more elevated. And the other thing, I know my counterpartner next to me had said that maybe you can do an 8-foot cedar fence, but would you consider doing a concrete fence? Because cedar eventually will bend and break, and it's going to end up in their backyard. I think if I was them, I would certainly would ask that. That's reasonable to say, hey, you guys are developing, do a CMU or a concrete fence, even if it's 6 foot, but do it concrete, more stronger. And it is concerning, since you guys have just opened Delta. How long have you opened? 5 months, 6 months?
We opened a year ago.
Yeah. And I guess it is kind of concerning. And it happens, right? You have 300 people living there, a fire alarm going off and all that. But now this is right behind their backyard. And so that would be concerning, right? So I think that were a reasonable request. I think, look, something's going to happen there. I think you are probably the most reasonable person that they can meet. And I would strongly ask that the community that's north of your property, you give them at least a chance to hear you out or hear their concerns. And just like you did with the West, I would say, please give them a chance to address their concern and what you can do with them. Because I really, truly feel you have a great product. I think just like you educated the rest, I think if you educated them and kind of hear their concerns and incorporate some of their concerns into your development, I think it'll be a good positive feedback for all the way around. Real quick on this picture, when I'm looking at building 3 and 4, I believe we said there will be no balconies around facing Magnolia, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then building 2, you have no balconies facing on the north and west side on the 3rd floor, but not the 2nd and 1st.
Correct.
Okay. And then go back to the other picture real quick. I'm sorry, Travis. I noticed on building 3 and 4, it looks like you're putting your HVAC system on the roof.
Correct.
What about the building 2?
On the floor, grade.
On the floor, okay. Any reason why on that second building you don't want to lift it up?
Because we have more places to hide them and put them out of sight, opposed to trying to keep them totally invisible from Magnolia.
Sure. Okay. And really, I think my vote is going to count on your residents on the north. And so you may have enough votes here, but mine is going to be counting on what you do for them as well, just what you did for the West. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Travis, I have a quick question. It's the fencing. So the land immediately adjacent to the north side, I see in one of the pieces here, I believe is an easement with DD4.
Yes, sir.
So this fence is going to be how far inside the property line?
So what we'll likely do is put the fence all the way at the property line.
Okay.
And we've actually had a good meeting with BDD4 a month or so back. Maybe it was 2 months ago, Sean. But we think we've come up with a solution where we're going to keep that land privately owned and redo and dredge out their ditch and design it in a manner that allows for basically just optimal flow that would prevent them from actually needing an easement. And that would give us more flexibility to do a landscape buffer. And so what we'll likely do, although we haven't advanced to this level of detail yet in design, but what will likely happen is the fence will go right at the property line or just inside on our side of the property line. And then there will be the BDD4 detention ditch, which is there today, but will just be redone and updated. And then we'll have what's in the text, which is a tree buffer along the entire length. And currently it's stated that trees have to be installed every 10 parking spaces. I will offer here to reduce that to every 5 parking spaces to densify the canopy of trees. So to also help create a bigger buffer for noise, sound, et cetera.
Okay. Yeah, I was just, because when I saw it here, I thought, well, that's going to create where the blue line is driven is
it's about what's drawn here, it's close to 100 feet, I believe, from the property line to the facade of the purple building.
Yeah, I think a tree line would be a great addition, and getting that fence back on the property line or right off of it would be good. Again, and I think another opportunity to work with the property owners to the north to unify that fence line all the way up and down there and cover. And I know on here, I'm going to ask a special favor if you go along the property line to bring that fence all the way out to 1128.
Would love to. Yep.
Yes, sir. Instead of stopping it basically at the parking area, bringing it all the way out. That way, it's to the corner. I think it helps cover that whole piece and keeps it unified along there, assuming this would pass. So I guess, Martin, I don't know if you've got those encapsulated. I know he's working with DD4 on that fence, and so I think that's probably, if it goes on the property line versus not, is probably hinged on whether or not they finalize their deal with DD4 and the easement.
There's that to consider, but also if he goes on the property line, that's going to be, I'm assuming your property line adjoins with every one of those homes on the back. Correct?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Your property line adjoins with all of the homes in the ETJ to the north?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you're going to move the fence out there, you're going to have to work with all those homeowners on that fence. If you're going to speak, go ahead and come up to the mic. State your name, please, sir.
Hey, Sean Rattery, I'm Travis's partner. So there's an existing fence right now on the south side of the single-family residence to our north. And so we would be demoing that fence and building a new one if that's what the residents wanted, or we could just build one 6 inches to the south of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I wouldn't want a double fence 6 inches apart from each other, maintaining that, and then you're going to get into a argument over how do you maintain that access, and that would be a mess. So there's a challenge there. So right. If we push it out to the property line, then you guys have got to work with the residents all along there to figure out how to do that and come up with a maintenance agreement for the fence. Who's going to take care of it? Is it your fence? Is it their fence? So there's some stuff that gets into that to being a little bit tricky versus leaving it along the parking. I agree with you. If you can take the fence all the way out to the corner, but leave it right at that edge of the parking, then you have a maintenance strip on the backside, which is where the easement would be. So that's a little bit of a challenge. So maybe moving forward, assuming things move forward tonight, just kind of working with those homeowners and figuring out what makes sense to everybody involved would probably be a good idea to talk through. Okay. Joseph has got something.
Yeah, I'm looking on Google Earth and property ownership. Y'all, from what I can see on Google Earth and Regrid, y'all don't own the property at 1128. Is that correct? I'll stop.
Yeah,
there's about seven. There's about 7 or 8 homes.
Councilmember Cozy, can I talk to that real quick?
The triangle's not.
I actually was on the same track with you. On page 50 of the agenda packet, there's a survey that's provided of the property. You can see that the point of beginning for the lot is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, just into the 5th property from 1128. So those first 4 are definitely not adjacent to, and they would actually, they abut the right of way itself.
Okay.
And then I think Patrick's working on getting it pulled up here real quick. The 5th property has, I don't have a scale to it right now, but I would say probably about 10 feet from where the tangent line gets in with their point of beginning.
That's when I was looking at it. I was like 5 or 6. I couldn't.
Okay.
But that shows it.
It was hard to see
that
even
affects,
on the exhibit that they showed here.
So are you looking at having a fence? Okay, that's what I just want to. I just want to make sure we didn't have concern about.
Yeah, we're not directing them to run onto other people's property and stuff.
Yeah, the way it was drawn up here, I thought this was 1128.
That's fine. I just wanted when you said that, I wanted to clarify that.
Into their property.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even then, even though the blue line on the fence stops right at the parking lot, so just bringing it to their
Yeah.
property
No,
line.
I get. I just want to clarify because I was like, man, it didn't go all the way to 1128. So.
Yeah.
But if there was a right of way that we could put the fence within, we would do it.
It may be something that's investigated if this moves forward on how we clean that up and screen that. That'd probably be good. All right. Let's call questions, comments. Okay.
So thank you, Mayor. Real quick, Travis, the park you're looking to build right there, I noticed on the south you had a parking, I guess you build parking lot for people to use, right? Because it's connected to our trails. Is there any plan here? You're not showing any kind of parking spots or anywhere? Is that not something? So it's really then that this park doesn't really, it's not really for us or the citizens, it's really for your community.
Well, there's not sufficient room to do that within our design plan. There is an existing sidewalk along Magnolia there, and this will tie into it. So anyone that's using the sidewalk, whether on a bike or scooter or what have you, they'll have access to it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I think the other was just, it was a trailhead to be able to get on the city's trail through theirs and access the trail. So, all right, we'll close this docketed public hearing. We're going to move to new business item number 1. Mr. Carbone, would you place that on the table, please? And it sounds like we may have an amendment, so.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action, first reading of ordinance number 2000M-278. So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Sounded like Martin, is it best now to put an amendment in principle for an 8-foot fence?
Yeah, so what I heard was an 8 fence along the rear property line, extending out to the point of beginning at the survey, and then to also include the applicant's proposed their proposed amendments that they provided in their public comments.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to make the northern fence 8-foot fence that runs all the way to the point of beginning on the survey, and the increase in canopy as discussed by the applicant.
Second.
We have a motion and a second as an amending motion, adding those conditions to the PD. Any questions or comments?
Mayor, I want to make sure that we're talking about a concrete fence or a cedar plank fence.
The amendment was a 8-foot cedar fence.
Also, were we accepting their preemptive change from 4 stories to 3 on building 2? Are we putting that in the amendment as well?
Does that need to be in the amendment?
For clarity's sake, I'd love to just have as presented by CTCs.
Yeah. And reduce the height to the 3 foot versus the 4 foot.
Three-story.
Yeah, as presented.
And no balconies on the 3rd level of the north and west facade of building 2.
So Martin, are you just saying, say a blanket as presented by CTC instead of listing all these things?
Yeah, we have, because CTC gave us those amendments this morning, we have what their request is, and they've said that verbatim. So really the only additional thing is the 8-foot cedar fence along the northern property line.
And I'll still second that.
Yeah, so we have a motion and a second on an amendment to add this language to the overall package. Any questions or comments on the amended motion, or the motion to amend?
So Travis, would you still consider putting a concrete fence in the back on the north side?
Yeah, we'll consider it. Can you give us the time in between this meeting and when we come to you next, if we're approved here?
Sure.
To work with them
Fair.
on a solution?
Thank you.
I think that's fair. That's also a major cost consideration. He may want to go back to his 4 stories if he does the concrete.
Big difference between 8-foot fence.
Yeah, big difference. So, all right, Madam Secretary, we're going to call a vote on the motion to amend.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Chavadilla?
Aye.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Member Patel?
Nope.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Member Koza?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-1.
All right, we now have an amended motion on the table. Last call for questions, comments. Seeing none, Madam Secretary, call for a vote on the amended motion.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Chavadilla?
No.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Member Patel?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Member Koza?
Aye.
The motion passes 4-2.
All right, with that, we will move to new business item number, no new business, sorry about that. Public hearing regarding the proposed amendments to the city charter. Who's presenting that?
I will.
Okay, Darren, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, council members. The purpose of this public hearing is to discuss proposed charter amendments that may appear on the ballot in May of 2026. And just a very, very quick review. If you recall, in January, the council voted and created the Charter Review Commission. They carried out their duties basically from January through May, and then eventually presented their charter report to the city council, which was adopted into the city record by resolution. After their thorough evaluation of the charter, they came up with 2 primary recommendations, and after doing a discussion with the council on that, it was decided to go ahead and move forward primarily with 1 recommendation of the Charter Commission. And that was for any sections of the charter that have a requirement for publication and notice in the newspaper, that we change those references to reflect that it would be published in accordance with state law. By doing so, you would actually give the council the ability in the future, if the legislature decides to provide more amenable means for publication, that we could do it that way as opposed to doing it through the current way of just requiring publication in the paper. And so that's what is being presented here this evening. There's not a presentation to go through because it's 1 amendment. Now, I will say that this 1 proposed amendment, it would be 1 vote, 1 item on the ballot that would be presented, but it would impact 10 different sections within the charter. But the changes are all essentially the same, allowing it to be publication to be done in accordance with state law, and again, providing that flexibility to the city if the law changes. So That's the presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
All right, we'll open it up to the public, those wishing to offer testimony for this proposed charter amendments that would go to the voters in May. Is that correct, Darren? All right.
That is correct.
All right. Anyone wishing to offer testimony? Second attempt, those wishing to offer testimony on these proposed charter amendments. Third and final time, those wishing to offer testimony on these proposed charter amendments. Seeing no one moving in that direction, we'll open it up to questions, comments from council. Anybody have anything? I know we've had workshop on this already. Don't see anything. I think it's a good way. Well, like I said, we'll have the one ballot initiative, but it'll affect, 8, 10 different areas in the charter. And I think the state law moves and changes and morphs. It's easier to just have language in there that we can adjust with it, as opposed to being in conflict with with state law. Good deal. We'll close this docket public hearing, move to other business. There were none. Mayor, council issues for city council discussion. There were none. We're going to move into executive session under Texas Government Code Section 551.074, discussion regarding personnel transitions in the legal department. With that, we will recess at 8:04. Continued number 2, Mr. Carbone, do you have an action item for us?
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. It's my honor to make a motion to appoint Lawrence from Legal as the city attorney effective January 30, 2026, and directing the mayor to execute the agreements as discussed in executive session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, call for that vote.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Chavadilla? Aye. Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Member Patel?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Welcome to Team Lawrence. Aye.
Member Koza?
Aye.
The motion passes 6-0.
All right. With that, we will move to adjournment at 8:37.
installments, or they can pay it off at any time, or they can pay partially. So it gives them that option. So all those options will be stipulated and identified in the service and assessment plan. One of the conditions that isn't contemplated to be put in there is the PID assessment will be triggered right now for the property owners that are in the district. The PID assessment is contemplated to be triggered when they sell